Oh no, I didn't update the title.
Bum, bum, ba, bow.
Damn it. Oh, I set a reminder to do it too, and I still didn't do it.
Well, I tweeted the thing out, so that's set at least.
All right, well, we'll just have to let people know that the title is a mistake on my part, but we're not recording it, so I just fix this really quickly. I have the title I need ready to roll. Whoops. Okay. Hello to everybody that's already in here. Sort through some shit and gonna record now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 96 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you on another Wednesday night, 7:31 p.m. As I change my name, as I'm not Ian Clinton. Don't want to be an identity thief.
Wouldn't be good.
But yeah, we're back here. Another Wednesday night. Celtics play in less than an hour now. The Avalanche could potentially knock out the St. Louis Blues, which would make me very happy.
Be very nice.
Less than a half hour. But episode 96, if we're talking current Patriots, it's another week of no one besides Patriots for jersey numbers. We got Deshaun Bauer, got Gino Grissom. I met Gino Grissom a few years ago. Nice guy. Suver Salinga for a funny throwback name. Andre Carter. We had him last week. He also wore 96, apparently. Jermaine Cunningham, and the most notable name, I'd say, Adalius Thomas.
I'd say so. Yep.
You see in the picture that we tweeted out about the show earlier today. But, unfortunately, we have really unfortunate stuff to talk about to start because, with our platform, we'd be remiss to not address it. What happened in Texas with the shooting, the extremely tragic shooting that took place in Texas. Look, I think we're both in the same boat here. I'm really sick of having to talk about kids being killed.
I think that's the best way to sum that up. The fact that that sentence has to be uttered and continues to be uttered is just absolutely inexcusable. Obviously with the stuff, what was it now? 10, which when I heard this yesterday, it was insane that Sandy Hook was 10 years ago.
The anniversary is coming up soon.
So the timing was obviously horrible of that, but just the fact that we had to obviously go through that 10 years ago, the fact that nothing has seemingly changed in the almost 10 years from that tragedy to now have this happen yesterday is just, like I said, it's inexcusable. Everyone's kind of going through it, giving their thoughts on it. Like you said, it kind of we would be foolish not to just say a little something and I just don't know what to say anymore. Because like you said, it's the fact that we're sitting here once again having to talk about kids were killed yesterday is absolutely just a disgusting thing to even think about. Was listening to Charles Barkley was talking about it the other night. And he said, the school for a lot of people, you think of that's the safest place you can send a kid. That there should be no problems like that when you send a kid to school. Obviously growing up, we never really, I feel had to deal with any even remotely close to that going on. I feel like you and I were probably always safe, going to school, but the fact that this happens again and just will continue to is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can speculate all we want about changes. We don't know exactly what is hopefully someday going to fix this, or at least limit it substantially, which is really unfortunate. And, I just don't really, we're not a political podcast, but I just really don't have a lot of faith in our
government. No, that's what I mean.
To fix it. So, because they haven't, it's been a thing for a while. They haven't fixed it. Like I said, there's no perfect solution, but there's not enough being done.
No, not even close.
It really feels like a pathetic effort or lack thereof, or rather a really good lack of effort to fix this from local governments and, the people who are put in power to fix these types of things. So, it's just one of the most tragic things that's happened, in our lifetime. It's just, like I said, I'm really sick of seeing stories about kids being shot up in schools, so much life ahead of them. This was the day before their last day of school.
Yeah, that's what killed me.
The most exciting time of the year. We both know it's the best time of year as a kid. You're so excited. The weather's nice. You have if you're one of those schools that has a field day at the end of the year. You do stuff. It's the best. It's what you look forward to all year. And these kids have this and their lives taken away from them. by just an immoral human being.
Yep.
It's just like it leads to psychological issues for the kids,
Mhm.
student, teachers, families, people, anyone affected. Like it needs to stop. It
Yep.
needs to stop. And it's just so annoying that this type of stuff keeps happening.
Mhm.
It happens the most consistently in the United States, and it
Yep.
needs to change. And I do have faith as an optimist. I'm not all pessimistic that
Mhm.
things like this will change because I want them to. I don't like seeing this, and hopefully people can figure it out. But just from what we see in the years past, it just doesn't give me a lot of hope that
No, that's where I'm sitting at right now. The fact that you had what 2 weeks ago, a grocery, like, again, it's just like simple play, like a school and a grocery store get shot up. Like that's it's I just I
people
can't
didn't
put it
feel
into
safe
words. It's exactly
sending their
anywhere.
kids to school, going to the movie theater, like
Yep.
going grocery
Going to
shopping.
pick up groceries on like a Saturday, whatever day that was that tragedy occurred in Buffalo. Like it's like I keep saying, it's inexcusable, but like I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to try to take the same stance that you do, and like you hope that something changes, but then, like you said, all this stuff that continues to go on, and seems like every other day, some sort of shooting of some sort is going on, or just some sort of tragedy. So, like for me, it's like, well, it feels like unless, like you said, people put the effort in, which it doesn't seem like people want to, can do, whatever your argument is. Again, we're not going to get too much into the political side of things, but like it's just right now, this doesn't feel like a lot of hope that anything is going to change because no one can seem to agree. And like you said, it is a tough thing to try to figure out because you can't take one side more than the other. Like obviously, get rid of guns entirely. People will argue that. I've seen people argue higher protection in schools with like armed teachers and stuff, which you can't do.
Sad
Like,
thing is there even needs to be protection in schools, and
yeah, that's where the argument should stop. I saw that on Twitter. That somebody argued like you should have armed police officers and metal detectors, and someone was like, "You're talking about an elementary school, like that shouldn't need to be a thing that needs to be put in place in an elementary or just a school in general."
Yeah,
Like,
and like I've seen people like, oh, like, um, there's a lot of kids in schools. I saw someone say there's a lot of kids in schools. Like this is a very small fraction of what actually happens. Like one kid being killed in a school
yeah, is
in
a
human
problem enough.
history
Yep.
is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, never mind, at least 19, like two teachers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just horrifying. It's
Yep.
so horrifying. Like, the thoughts and prayers don't do enough at this
No,
point.
absolutely not.
Give
It's
them if you feel like it. If you're,
mm-hmm.
if that's what you believe helps, and
It's a vicious cycle, the same thing over and over again. You do that, and then a day later, it's almost like it's swept under the rug. Like,
yeah, it's brutal. And
mm-hmm.
we just on that tune, like we do send our strength and our condolences to these people because they're just going through an unimaginable thing that can affect them for the rest of their lives, affect people around them. And it's just, the message just keeps coming back. Like, we're really sick of seeing stuff like this. Like, it's just, I don't like seeing kids getting shot at schools. Like, it's absolutely heartbreaking immediately. And it needs to change.
Yep.
We need at least to start with some progress.
Like something,
we need some positive momentum to stopping things like this from happening. Like, it's just, it's a tough way to start the show, but like with our platform and our growing platform, we'd be remiss.
Something you have to do, absolutely.
We just hope for a better future.
That's all you really can hope for. I mean, like you said, it's a long road ahead, and like you mentioned, hopefully something gets just something small maybe to start the conversation. But like again, with what's going on in the country, and just again, not getting it in a whole lot of political, but like the fact that nobody ever seems to agree or can't agree, wants to agree, or nobody wants to put their own kind of agendas aside. Like, again, like you're talking about kids getting killed here. This is something that should like raise alarms and red flags for, doesn't matter what your party political belief is or whatever. Like,
yeah, we got our good friend of the show, Luke Caprell, in the Twitter chat. Thanks, Luke. We appreciate the kind words. Yeah, I mean, like we said, we can't go without talking about something like this. Just such a brutal tragedy. And I hit my mic cord there for a second, but yeah, it's an unfortunate way to start the show. But we just hope for change in the future because we need it, and this country needs it, and this stuff like this just can't happen anymore. Moments of the week, though. my biggest thing this past week has been the Kadri Binnington, Callie Rosen situation with the Avs and the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy that a lot of people out there that were previously against Nazem Kadri have come to his side, and I have fully done that.
I hate that I'm defending
Kadri's doing it.
Absolutely,
but
I'm
starting to like Nazem Kadri. Like,
I hate that I have to defend Nazem Kadri in this. Like, and because I mean, I didn't see. I had to go when I saw this in the outline. I had to go see the whole water bottle incident because I didn't know about that. I was watching. What was a game? What was the last game? It was Game 5. I really haven't paid attention to the Stanley Cup Finals after the Bruins got bounced, to be honest.
Yeah, it was Game
but
4.
Whatever though, yeah, Game 4, the last game where he got jumped for hitting. I mean, it was a little iffy hit, but I mean, he got jumped by. I can't remember exactly who it was.
It was he got hit from behind by Buchnevich, and then Perron jumped on
and
him
Perron jumped him. Yep,
face into the ice.
Yeah,
and then Perron very clearly, as Kadri scored a hat trick. You know, that's one way to fuck with the team.
Exactly. Yep.
Kill you.
Mm-hmm.
He just scored the hat trick, and Perron tries to Matt Cook him pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Perron's just an idiot. Like, it's so crazy how someone that's been so clutch in these playoffs and playoffs in the past, and, you know, a guy that's an underrated goal scorer in the league can completely unravel so quickly.
Yeah, just lose his head. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's crazy how, like, so many people are on Kadri's side now. And another thing I hate seeing happening, all the racial abuse and, like, threats him and his
that's
family are receiving.
Horrible.
Like, and then one of these people that reaches out, you know, or not reaches out, that says these terrible things I'm not going to repeat because they're just awful. To Kadri and any members of his family, friends, whatever, whoever it could be. They're like, oh, like, can you take someone posted, Mikey Stevens posted, like, some of these screenshots. He's like, oh, can you take this down? Like, my family is, like, nervous. Like, we're getting people reaching out. Like, I was drunk. I think he said he was drunk when he said it. Like, dude,
okay, so typical, like, BS response.
That's a you problem. Like, when you get drunk, you decide to be racist to people. Yeah, like,
a piece of shit
problem. Yep. Like, I'm not saying he earned it, but he kind of did, because
it's the definition
nobody deserves to, you know, get berated and, you know, threatened. But I mean, look what you said. Like, I don't care.
Can you take this down?
Like, look what you said.
That's the just do one better and be like, oh, my phone was hacked. That wasn't actually me.
Here's one step too. You know, this might not solve everything. I hope, you know, of course he said these terrible things, but, like, I hope nothing bad happens to the person. Like, just delete your social media.
Yeah, like, get rid of it. I mean, yeah.
Like, it's really simple, but, you know, people that are that dumb don't really have the brain power to figure that type of stuff out.
Doesn't seem like it.
Entirely surprised me. So, a lot of messed up stuff going on. I mean, just what a situation too, like, with classic douchebag Binnington throwing the water bottle, just, like, super childish.
Yep.
I think this would be a different situation if Binnington wasn't hurt. There was a celebration too with Kadri's hat trick goal where he was, like, apparently, like, yelling up at Binnington in the press box.
Oh, was he?
They have history too back in the regular season. I don't know if you remember when Binnington swung his stick at Kadri.
Yeah. Yep.
He's done a lot of that stuff, like going at other goalies, like trying to be tough when he's not.
It's just a dickhead. Like,
he's a dickhead. He's, you know, been racist in the past.
That too. Yep. That's the big one.
It's just a terrible guy. Like, just a terrible person.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like, the hit. We can't not talk about the hit. There's really nothing Kadri can do. Can you say Kadri, you know, with his past had some intention here? Maybe, but I'm leaning more towards him being, you know, boxed out by Callie Rosen on defense and kind of not having a choice. Like, he's going to the net and there's potential for a scoring chance. Like, it's the playoffs. I'm not saying bury goalies, but, like, he's going to go to the net and play to the whistle blows. It's not like Lucic him, which, Lucic was in the news for that.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Situation. But another one that wasn't, like, super intentional. You can, you know, maybe make the case there was some intent from Lucic, but I don't think he went in there to bulldoze Mike Smith. Like, I don't see that happening, even though, you know, we have seen him bulldoze Ryan Miller in the past. That was a long time ago, but
yeah.
Crazy situation.
That was going to be my thing. I mean, you're seeing this. It's kind of funny that it's come up. Obviously, that running into the goalie and crashing into the goalie isn't, you know, a really crazy common thing because obviously they try to avoid that type of contact. So I just find it funny, or maybe ironic, I guess is a better term, that, like, this has happened twice now in the last couple of days. But like I feel like both situations, neither Lucic or Kadri, like you said, really had any intent to go after the goalie. They were both kind of like bracing for. Lucic obviously was going after the puck and got put in a crappy situation, had to try to brace in his impact. And then Kadri, like you said, was kind of knocked into Binnington. So it's not like you mentioned, and I found it funny that everyone's just losing their minds. It's like, go and watch both those plays. Neither one of Kadri or Lucic are legitimately winding up to run the goalie. Or like, I'm not saying that Lucic obviously ran Miller that time, but like that was obviously kind of open ice type of hit. Like that's a completely different thing. But yeah, I just found it a little ridiculous that people are kind of overblowing this thing. And maybe, like you said, maybe it is with Kadri's history, because obviously there's a lot of it there. But just anyone with a brain, watch the play. What do you expect him to do on that type of thing? Like you said, it's the playoffs. He's crashing the net, trying to get a loose puck. Like the guy's not going to just let up and let the other guy, whoever it was, the defenseman, just just take the puck and go. Like it's not going to happen.
It's the thing, not on this scale, but it happens a lot. We see goalie interference where like somebody is trying to get in between the defender and the goalie, and the defender like backs up and makes contact with the forward, and they like fall into the goalie. This is a little different than that, and obviously Binnington's hurt, but it's just like it's one of those things. It's becoming more and more common with time with stuff like this. Is like people will find any angle where they can be like defend the guy who they're trying to defend. In this case, it's Binnington. This case, it's Rosen. Whatever. It's just so stupid. Like you have to just be less bored. You have to just find better things to do with your free time and just have a higher functioning brain. Whatever you want to do to improve your brain power, go ahead. But like
play some games or something.
Oh my god! Like
do a puzzle.
These people just try so hard to push these narratives that just aren't there. Hey Matt, how you doing? See Matt in the chat. What's up?
Nice, good to see you.
Yeah, and like it's just stupid. Like it's just complete nonsense. It's a tier 3 for me. Because I just don't think it's worthy of a tier 4, tier 5, but it could be. The other thing, which we can obviously both talk about here as well, the Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban situation, just quick. This is just so funny because Nick Saban, we know that college coaches find ways to get top recruits.
That's not a
until now to get them to come to their schools, and that's what Texas A&M does now that it's legal. There's a number 1 recruiting class, absolutely juiced with talent, and Saban's like, hey, what the hell? Like,
sorry, you got some competition, man, for the first time maybe ever, or more competition than you've had in the past. Like
maybe Alabama's just not going to win like every other year anymore. Like wasn't going to last forever. And, maybe he didn't see it happening in this way, but I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that, shit like this hasn't been happening for ages.
No, it's the worst kept secret in college sports as a whole. Like,
yeah,
shit happens.
It's just funny seeing it from Saban. I mean,
it's all out of all the people. Yeah. Like,
him and Jimbo going back and forth. I think they said like Texas A&M plays Alabama in like November this year, so that'll be a fun game.
I'd actually have to invest in college football.
Yeah, I always say every year I'm going to watch more college football. I never end up doing it.
I never do.
I really just primarily watch BC because I'm a BC guy, especially this year. It's going to be fun. Phil Jerkovic and Zay Flowers, because that's just going to be sick. Christian Mahogany on the line, taking the reins from Zion Johnson as the top dog, hopefully. Top 2023 draft eligible. Yeah, man, it's just a funny scenario. It's just, especially because it's from Saban, and Jimbo Fisher's not a schmuck of a name either, but like, come on. But it's funny, it builds drama, it's good for the sport in a way too, because it gets people excited about this matchup. I'm fine with it. It's just funny coming from Saban, and can't help but have a laugh.
It's hypocritical. Yeah,
it's a tier 4 to me because of like not so much the situation itself and the the morality of it all and the hypocrisy maybe. It's just the fact that it's Nick Saban. Like it's the you make the case the greatest college football coach ever. Like I think you very safely say that, and it's just pretty funny to say. So on to yours, though. On to your moment of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil
Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil just because I have 2 of them just right out of the gate. I have 2 tier 5s, but one's more on the positive side than the other one. So one's tier 5 is more so a dickhead behavior, tier 5, still keeping that alive. And the other one is more so a moment of the week. Yeah, the first one, the negative one, it's the Tim Anderson and the Josh Donaldson stuff, like you just said. I mean, it's getting out of hand. It's got out of hand. If people missed it, I can't remember when the game was. I meant to go back and look at it. But before, obviously, the Red Sox played the White Sox, the Yankees matched up with them. There was a benches clearing situation. There's been kind of some testiness this season between the Yankees and the White Sox. And I guess now we know why that may be, because Josh Donaldson low key might be a racist piece of crap.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's well put out there now after everybody. Yeah. But yeah, after the game, after the bench is clear, everybody was doing their post-game interviews, stuff like that. Obviously, we found out Josh Donaldson threw the "What's up, Jackie" in response to the Jackie Robinson stuff, Tim Anderson, which he did not like. I don't blame him. But just kind of, the whole thing, Josh Donaldson afterwards defending himself, called it an inside joke with Tim Anderson. Because I forgot about this. I went back and looked it up. Tim Anderson, at first, I did think Josh Donaldson had some sort of point, because Tim Anderson in 2019 did come out and mentioned that he wanted to be the next Jackie Robinson, but in the context of he wanted to play the game hard. It wanted to be a role model for guys. So it wasn't anything Tim Anderson being like, look at me, I'm going to be the next Jackie Robinson. It wasn't anything like that. Josh Donaldson, I guess, may have taken it like that, or just thought maybe it would be funny to, bring that up, Tim Anderson. And the reason I have this in the outline today is because more stuff has come out. This was from Jesse Rogers. She covers the MLB for the White Sox Cubs for ESPN.com. The tweet that was put out said, quote, Tim Anderson after being called Jackie by Donaldson in 2019. This was Tim Anderson saying this, quote, I told him we never have to talk again. I won't speak to you. You won't speak to me. If that's how you're going to refer to me. I knew exactly what he was doing. So typical, I'm going to poke this guy and rile him up because I know he doesn't like me doing this. So I'm just going to be, call it what it is, a dickhead here when it comes to that.
Look, I don't want to be stereotypical here, but I look at Josh Donaldson and I'm not really surprised that he's
that was the big thing too, is they talked about it on the Red Sox broadcast, and I found it hilarious that Kevin Youkilis, who's doing the color stuff, obviously has played baseball for quite some time, probably crossed paths with Josh Donaldson. I can't remember when Donaldson came into the league, but I would have to assume Youkilis was probably still there. He even said that, it's not a surprise that Josh Donaldson's right in the middle of some sort of controversy, or something along the lines of that. I was like, oh, Kevin Youkilis must know something that we don't.
Yeah.
Because Josh Donaldson, for the longest time, and he's a guy that has played with a fire under his ass. He's a fiery guy. Can take it out of hand at sometimes, and this is a clear-cut example of that. I was shocked that Aaron Boone. I mean, good on Aaron Boone for kind of calling out Donaldson. And not sticking up for him. Well, maybe some other people might have. I thought Liam Hendricks had the best response to all of it. I watched his interview. They asked him about the whole situation and the inside joke kind of comment. And his quote was, usually you don't have inside jokes, people you don't get it, or usually you do have inside jokes with people you get along with, not people you don't get along with at all. So that statement right there is complete bullshit. I think he's 100% right. If you and I didn't like each other, didn't know each other, I wouldn't be having just walk up to you and be like, hey, you want to create an inside joke, or let's joke about something only you and I know about. It's a complete, just complete crap from Josh Donaldson.
You saw my facial expressions there.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I moved my audio jack a little bit. I'm trying to fix it.
You sound fine.
Oh, I had it for a sec. It might just come in. I don't know if anybody knows it, but I'm trying to fix it real quick. Come on, go back to normal for me.
What's the matter with it? It's just sounds
just
weird.
Going, staticky,
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry if this is coming in on the.
Oh, I don't hear anything. So.
Okay, so.
But yeah, I mean, just the whole.
Fine. Matt's in the chat. Matt, let me know if it doesn't sound fine. Sorry.
Anything weird?
Yeah, I was trying to move some cables out of the way on my keyboard here for the microphone. Yeah, Josh Donaldson. This is very clearly racist to me. It's open.
Absolutely.
Shut. Yep. Yeah, you got to be smarter than this, and for a fiery guy like Josh Donaldson, I'm not really surprised that this came out.
No,
it's a guy that I think is prone with his explosive attitude to, maybe not always thinking before he chirps.
Have some outbursts. Yep.
He let his racism shine through, unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for Tim Anderson, who had to hear this and was reasonably upset about it. So
can't say I blame him.
Teammates, family, friends that were upset seeing this happen to him, and just fans in general who hate stuff like this happening. So,
Yep.
Including us. I mean, this is just stupid. Like, you just got to be smarter than this if you're on a huge platform like playing in the MLB. So.
Yep, and is one of the more well-known players. Like, I feel like even before this, a lot of people probably knew, shit, the guy won an AL MVP. People know who Josh Donaldson is. People might not, recognize Tim Anderson's name if you're, don't follow baseball closely. You're not obviously a White Sox fan, but like, it's a name that is probably more up and coming than Josh Donaldson is. Like I said, he's probably the more well-known out of the two, but like, still doesn't make it right in the slightest. I was going to ask you, what were your thoughts on that? He only got a 1-game suspension. You surprised by that? You think more? Or
I thought it should have been more.
See, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, if you want, and again, like, it obviously we've seen, racial stuff like this come across, sports. Like, it's, if you want to, it's, and talks about too, of like, you want to send a message to like not have this happen. Obviously, it's like, I thought it should have been at least, and it's kind of funny now, or coincidental, I guess, that now Josh Donaldson's out. He's on the COVID list, I'm pretty sure. So karma's a bitch, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So he probably is he's probably going to miss more than the 1-game suspension. I don't know if he's even served it yet or not. I thought I saw he was going to appeal it. I'm like, what are you appealing a 1-game suspension for?
62 games. That's
exactly.
The thing to me too. Like, you can afford to give a guy who plays a sport with 162 games, who said something racist to somebody more than 1 game. Like,
well, that was what I got
right. That just shows to me that they don't care that much about stopping.
That was going to be my point. I got away. I rambled a little bit there. I would have, like, if you want to make a statement, suspend him 3-4 games, a full series. Like, let it be known that, hey, we're not going to tolerate this shit. Suspend him a week if you want to, if more, whatever you see the punishment being. Because I mean, the MLB, they're kind of up in the air with how they, work on suspending people, how many games people get, but like,
we know suspensions across sports.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is just, obviously it was all over Twitter. Thought we'd get our thoughts on that. A little late to the party, but with some more stuff coming out about it, I thought it was decent to talk about. And then, like I said, for my the more favorable and the more happy, I guess, storyline of the tier 5s is Jason Tatum was named to the All-NBA first team for the first time ever in his NBA career. Good bounce back for him because he was rightfully screwed off of last year's team. He should have probably made the All-NBA third team at least. It cost him, I think, $30 million, I heard, which, maybe some people will be like, oh, he's an NBA player. He doesn't need that much money or doesn't need any more money.
$30 million but like, certainly a lot of money.
It's that. And then it's just,
personally, I think having $30 million would be sick.
It wouldn't be bad. But yeah, I mean, it's good, obviously, for Jason Tatum. Had a phenomenal year. He joined Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, and Devin Booker on the first team. He beat out, technically, because I heard today there was a technicality of why Jason Tatum got voted on to the first team. For some reason, Joel Embiid was getting votes as a forward instead of a center. I don't know why people would do that, because the way, I don't know if you're aware of it, they do it for each team. They vote for 1 center, 2 forwards, and 2 guards. So they set it up like an actual NBA team. So that's why obviously Nikola Jokic got the All-NBA first team center and Embiid got the second team center. But if you looked at the voting, Joel Embiid had more votes than Jason Tatum, I'm pretty sure. But because Jason Tatum is a forward and they needed a forward on the first team, and Joel Embiid had half of his votes go as a forward, they booted him to the second team. I'm pretty sure is how that was worded when I was Philly. Exactly. But I think too, that was the reason why Jason Tatum wasn't on the third team last year, is because half of the voters voted for him as a guard for some reason. So I think he kind of got screwed over that way. But yeah, he beat out obviously Embiid, Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, John Morant, Steph Curry. They all finished on the second team. And then Karl Anthony Towns, LeBron James, Pascal Siakam, Chris Paul, and Trae Young finished on the third team. And of course, right on cue, I was on Twitter today looking it up, and a lot of people are complaining that LeBron James made the third team when he arguably had a career year or had a really solid year. But again, the Lakers sucked. LeBron missed half the season and they didn't make the playoffs and didn't really do anything the entire season. So sorry for the LeBron fans. He's not going to make it over these guys. But just obviously great honors for Jason Tatum, because it's something obviously that he's talked about in the past that, was on, I think JJ Redick's podcast at the All-Star break, talking about how he was a little peeved that he didn't make the third team last year. Good to see him make a massive jump this year.
Energy started to shift.
Maybe Jalen was onto something. It wasn't about whatever the retrograde and whatever the
Mercury's and
the Mercury's and yeah.
Or Jalen's just Jalen, and he felt like, all right, I'm just gonna F around and shift the energy.
I know
And
this is coming,
it's
so
worked. It's
so far.
worked. Celtics
Hopefully it
are
works again
fun.
tonight.
Yeah, I mean, just segues us into
Right into
something pretty
Celtics.
good. Double tier fives from Ryan. I can get on board with that. And that wraps up moments of the week. It segues us into Celtics because it's a big one. It's the typical cliche season where like it gets to a point where pretty much every game is the biggest game of the year, and that's where we're at for the Celtics. Tied 2-2, game 5 tonight on the road, trying to buck a trend if you're the Celtics. I mean, I have faith with no Tyler Hero again for the Heat, second game in a row. Smart and Williams, I don't know if they're going to do any minutes restrictions or be careful with them. If they get up big, like you talked about before we went live, I hope they would sit him a little bit. But Brian, are you good? You froze. You froze on my end. You here? Ryan?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh, you froze.
It froze. Yeah, it froze again for a second.
Now I thought your Zoom was going to shut down.
No, I was waiting for it too, but
yeah, if they get comfortable, I'd like to see them restrict things a little bit later in the game, get some of the bench guys in. But I like the position the Celtics are in, man. I think Tyler Hero is a good rotational piece to them, 6-man off the bench. Celtics, I think, took advantage of that in part with their big win in game 4. So I like the position there, and even on the road, and there's some motivation from what Rob Williams said, about, wanting to buck this trend they're on about the losing after a big win or something. I like the position they're in a lot.
Well, that's what I just don't know what to expect from this game or this series at that point because of what you said. Like they have these games where they come out and they look solid, and I mean, obviously, let's be honest, game 4 wasn't a great offensive game for the Celtics, in my opinion. And I feel like a lot of people's opinions as well. I mean, Jason Tatum had a phenomenal bounce back game, which, I mean, I know I just gave him a ton of credit for obviously first team, for NBA all first team. I don't know why I can't say that. Been struggling with that all day. But like game 3, just some quick thoughts on that. Like Jason Tatum has a game where he scores 10 points. Like that was kind of going to be the storyline for me. Like it's kind of frustrating with Jason Tatum a little bit that like he has these games where he's really, really bad at times, but then obviously you give him the chance and he comes back and plays well. So that was kind of my takeaway from game 3 is like, you'd like Jason Tatum to not have these games where he just completely disappears, and give, PJ Tucker some credit. He has at times shut Jason Tatum down. But yeah, that was obviously frustrating to see. And then the big 2 other things from game 3 really quick was Kyle Lowry returned for Miami, played 29 minutes, had 11 points, but you could tell the tempo was different with him out there. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for the rest of the series if Miami can kind of regain that composure a little bit from when he came back. And then Bam Adebayo finally showed up, had 31 points in games 3, 10 rebounds. He dominated right from the get-go. But there is a catch to that, which the broadcast crew brought up. His 3 best games, and this will segue us into game 4 too, and kind of the rest, how I think the rest of the series should and maybe could play out and what the Celtics should do. The 3 best games Bam Adebayo has had in these playoffs were 2 games without Joel Embiid and the 1 game that Rob Williams did not play in game 3. So that might tell you something that, Bam Adebayo, I don't think of him as a true center. I just don't think he's, built.
Yeah.
Physical enough. Like he's more of a stretch 4 to me. Like he's a guy that can feast on Al Horford, like he did in game 3. But then if he has to come up against a guy that, is more of a bruiser, like a Rob Williams or a Joel Embiid, like he's going to struggle and not play as well as he's capable of.
To me, Adebayo, I don't watch the NBA nearly enough to know this, specifically as much as other people, but if he feels like one of those guys that's overall pretty good, but when he really shows up, he can just dominate.
Like, yep, exactly.
He's kind of like a guy you don't know what to expect, even though, I think he's built a good reputation for himself for the most part. But yeah, he's kind of a weird player in that trend, specifically in this case with this, topic we're discussing right now, is the whole lack of Embiid, now lack of Williams, and that's when he shines, and that's that unpredictability we see from him at times, I feel. At least recently,
Yeah. But that's the big thing. Like that was kind of going into game 3 was what I was worried about, because look at games 1 and 2 with him. And again, there's the Rob Williams effect there. And Al Horford had some good games to start the series against him. He only had 16 combined points for the first 2 games of the series. Wasn't getting a ton of touches. He only had 10 field goals for the first 2 games. So that was after the first 2 games. I'm like, well, that's a little strange. He pretty much beat the crap out of the Celtics in the bubble. So I don't know why Miami wouldn't, go more to him or try to get him the ball more. And then obviously I shouldn't have said anything because they pretty much just featured him as the game plan as a whole in game 3. But yeah, I mean, I found it interesting that, like, again, you have two legitimate centers he's gone up against in Embiid and Rob Williams, and that's kind of when he struggles. So hopefully that's kind of, like I said, segues us into game 4 and the thoughts on that. Like, obviously Rob Williams comes back and Bam Adebayo gets shut down. Miami's offense looks completely different. They're obviously are not as gung-ho to attack the paint with Rob Williams in there, which is obvious. You have, a 7-foot guy like him, which to me, the way the rest of the, obviously, like we said, they're both playing tonight, Rob Williams and Marcus Smart. Know if there will be a restriction or not. That's going to be the, obviously to watch. Rob Williams to me is the more important guy in this series moving forward than Marcus Smart. Like, you can afford to have Marcus Smart out of one of these, game 5 or game 6. Obviously he's going to play tonight, like we said, but Rob Williams is the guy that I think is going to make this series go for the Celtics. If he's in there, Miami's offense looks completely different. They look lost at times because they, like I said, they can't attack the paint. They can't get close shots. And Rob Williams, even on the offensive end, the fear of the lob with him is tremendous for Miami. So they have to defend that as well. Marcus Smart, you saw Derek White step into his role and, played well enough. He scored the first 7 Celtics points. Wasn't great shooting the ball, but he kind of gives you a little bit of what Marcus Smart does. The good defense, doesn't turn the ball over, can pick his spots when he hits a big shot or two. And then you have Pritchard as well. So that's why I think Rob Williams is the guy that, like I said, you can't afford to not have play moving forward because he can knock Bam out and then, like I said, keep anybody else that comes into the paint in check.
Yeah, and the big thing, this isn't a negative reflection on Smart, is the Celtics have been able to rally when Marcus Smart is out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little tougher when, of course, you lose both of them in some cases, or if you lose just Williams. Like we've seen Jaylen Brown in particular a couple times when Marcus Smart's been out, like really step up in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I just said in particular twice, a little redundant.
We get it in particular.
The point stands. It's very particular.
Mm-hmm.
That they can rally around Smart being out and not having a leader on the sidelines. They want to step up. Well, they have him on the sidelines, just not dressed.
Mm-hmm.
They can rally around that more so than a guy like Rob Williams, who, real quick, thank God when there was rumors for so long that he could be leveraged in a trade that they did not trade Rob Williams.
Yeah, I was wrong on that one too. I was ready to ship him out of here, like get him out, goodbye. Like,
I don't know if I was like super ready, but I was like, I think I was kind of in the camp of like being willing to in the right package, but I don't know. I don't remember specifics.
I think that's what it was because.
Oh my God, dude! Like this team would be so much different without him. It'd be crazy, and obviously would depend on who they would get back in such a trade, but it's all hypothetical.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, when we talked about that in the offseason, I think I said that, like, if you weren't going to move Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, like, your most valuable piece is probably Rob Williams. So that's why when they extended him, we're like, oh, maybe they'll sign him to a team-friendly contract that another team might take on if, they get off to a bad start and, they're sitting as a middling team and then they maybe want to blow something up. Then he's probably the guy that would garner some trade interest if you're not moving the Jays. But yeah, thankfully they stuck with him. Again, like the health thing is going to be the biggest thing with him moving forward. So like you said, if they get up big tonight, which we both hope they do, like I would not be opposed to sitting him the entire second half. Again, if they can do it, same thing with Smart, because like you're going to need both those guys moving forward. But like I said, Rob Williams is the guy that you need. I had the stats somewhere in here that, from Adam Kaufman, he tweeted this out today. It was from Adam Himmelsbach. Said in the 67 minutes with Rob Williams on the court versus Miami, the Celtics have outscored the Heat by 23.2 points per 100 possessions. During 46 minutes with replacement Daniel Tice on the floor, who I don't want to see play at all in the rest of the series if you don't have to. Boston has been outscored by 45.7, a point differential of 68.9. So Rob Williams is a difference. He's been arguably the difference in these games. You don't have him. Celtics tend to struggle. You have him out there. He strikes fear into Miami in more ways than one and makes obviously their offensive attack a whole lot different than it has been without him there.
Interesting game plan too, like getting up 18-1 to start the game.
Yeah, I mean,
good. That was a little astonishing, but this the Celtics team. They're scrappy. They know how to keep you on your toes.
Yep.
But I mean, I predicted that to close out a series in 7, they would win 6 and 7. But I'm feeling like the Celtics win tonight on the road, and then win one of the next 2 and go on to the finals. That's where I'm at. I'm not putting the L word on it, but I'm pretty confident in a win tonight.
I wouldn't put the L word on it yet. I mean, that's again, it's just the unknown of Miami, because we've seen the Celtics obviously the first 2 games play really well in Miami and have one just massive meltdown. So that's the one thing obviously they have to avoid. That's like moving forward again, getting into that, because we really don't have to spend a ton of time on the game 4 stuff. The people watch it, they know what happened. The one other thing we didn't get to is Al Horford's kind of crazy stat line where he only scores 5 points, but dominates the game defensively, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks. Like this was the Dan Greenberg tweet. He said Al Horford guarded Bam on 26 possessions and held him to 1 point and forced 2 turnovers on 0 of 2 shooting. Like I said, again, you see it with Al Horford. He has the game where Bam kind of takes his lunch the game before, and Al Horford, again, the Jordan meme, takes it personally and goes out and just, beats up Bam Adebayo the next night. So,
hey, Al's 36th birthday is June 3rd. Let's keep him playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Give him
a game on his birthday, depending
on what the
schedule is. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe a nice shiny birthday present that he can put on his finger. Yeah. But
birthday present, but
yeah.
But let's see it happen. I don't know. It could be something special. Yeah, what else do we have to get to here?
Well, I kind of forgot my train of thought on moving forward. Oh, it was I think it was the injury stuff I was going to touch on with Miami, because obviously Tyler Hero's not playing tonight. That's kind of the big thing for me moving forward. Obviously, there were a ton of rumors today on Twitter. I don't know if you saw them, that Bam Adebayo was going to miss the game because of COVID. Those obviously didn't come out to be true. So that's obviously a big help for Miami. But, Tyler Hero, he's a nice player. If you see him on the injury report, he might not be, Miami should be able to, overcome Tyler Hero. But kind of looking at it, you saw that the other night in game 4. Like, he's really, other than Jimmy Butler, who I don't think is 100% either. I think Jimmy Butler is more hurt than he might be letting on. With that knee injury. Tyler Hero is a guy that him and Butler probably the only 2 on the team that can create their own shots. So without Tyler Hero out there, like, that's a pretty big loss for Miami. And then obviously moving forward, like, you have to keep an eye on Butler, Lowry, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and PJ Tucker have all shown up. They all showed up on the injury report again today. All these guys obviously bring some big stuff to Miami. I said it with Lowry, he misses games 1 and 2, but comes back. Miami's offense looks different. He helped on defense in game 3 when he came back. Obviously, with Tyler Hero missing game 4, like I said, Miami's offense looks stagnant. Jimmy Butler missed the second half of game 3, and that's when Miami kind of, I don't want to say fell apart, but Boston went on their run when he went out. So you'd like, to see if the Celtics can, maybe capitalize on some of these injuries. And then same thing with PJ Tucker. Like, he's at times shut Jason Tatum down in this series. If he is lingering some sort of injury, like, that's obviously helps the Celtics as well.
Yeah, and my buddy Brian Berry in the chat says Celtics over Bruins right now. Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. A lot of different spots.
I hate to break it to you, but one team is going in one direction, the other one is sorry.
We don't know the downward direction yet. We don't know.
I think it's pretty obvious. We might touch on it when the Bruins segment, but the fact that they're thinking of firing the wrong guy.
Well,
we talked about off air, but
there are things that need to happen.
Could
cause the downfall that have not happened yet.
Might be making mistakes at the wrong position when it comes to hiring and firing.
PVO. Even though it looks like one certain thing is almost official.
Yeah, let's hope not.
About that more with the Bruins.
The other 2 things too, I really wanted. Yeah, exactly. The turnovers I wanted to get to, because like I said, just some things to look for, just common sense stuff. Keep them down, because looking at the stats today, in Miami's wins, the Celtics have turned the ball over 16 times in game 1, and obviously the 24 turnovers in game 3. Miami scored 19 and 33 points off of those turnovers in those respective games. In Boston wins, they've turned the ball over just 10 times. In the Boston wins, they turned the ball over 10 times in game 2, 11 times in game 4. Miami scored just 9 and 7 points off of those turnovers in those respective games. I saw the stat today that said the Celtics are 0-3 in playoff games when they turn the ball over 16 or more times.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you keep track of the ball, don't turn the ball over. You don't have Miami get out and run, which they like to do, and they're obviously very good at. That's how they run their offense for the most part. And like, again, you watch the series, like Miami pretty much won game 1 off of the Celtics turnovers in that third quarter. Like, we talked about it enough, Tatum and Brown being careless with the ball, which kind of leads into the next and last keys moving forward in this series, depending on how much longer it goes. You need consistency out of both Jalen and Jason. Game 1 and 2, obviously different results in both, but you got 20 plus points from both guys in both games. Tatum had 29 in game 1 and 27 in game 2. Brown had 24 in both games. Game 3, you saw Brown finish with 40 and the Celtics lose Tatum had 10, of course. That was his nightmare game. And then game 4, Tatum bounces back. They didn't need Brown to have a great game, but Brown only had 12. He did not shoot the ball well at all. Had some again, dribbling into traffic, some bad turnovers. So hopefully I bring Jaylen Brown some luck tonight with the Jaylen Brown jersey.
I can't believe
he has a bounce back game. I just
Whatever.
follow whatever jersey they're wearing. They're wearing the black
Yeah.
ones tonight. I saw on Twitter, so I had to throw that on. But yeah, just like typical stuff from them. Be aggressive, but don't be stupid. Don't turn the ball over. We saw a little bit in the last game. Like they still like to dribble into traffic at times. So please stop doing that.
Yeah.
With Marcus Smart back tonight, obviously he'll be the primary ball handler, so you probably won't see as many turnovers. Knock on wood. Hopefully I didn't screw the Celtics, but
don't go into the one version of Marcus Smart I don't like where you take
exactly
shots.
Yep. Well, he's been good at that, unless he has a game where he's on, and then I just don't. If he's hitting everything, I don't care if he takes 20 shots. But like,
yeah, every game I do watch the Celtics, I'm not as worried as I have been in the past, but I do get worried of that mold they fall into where they take too many threes when they don't need to, and that's one of my biggest complaints when they're struggling. Is that does happen, not as much frequently I feel like, but at times throughout the season and years past, particularly with Smart, and he's gotten a lot better in this regard. Is just being better with shot selection, being smarter, and ironically, smarter. As I'm looking over quickly at the Blues and Avalanche game, which just got started, just be smart and try, if you're Brown and Tatum, just put consistent scoring on the board, because certain scenarios like a 15-point half and an 18-point half can be better than like a 10.
Exactly.
First half and like a 30-point second half. It always depends on how the game flows, but I think you'd rather prefer consistent scoring. Defense has a factor in this too. It's not always easy to be consistent if you're getting shut down or limited in some regard, but consistent scoring is gonna be huge tonight, obviously, and just hopefully Smart and Williams can stay healthy throughout the game and just pedal to the metal, because not Marcus Smart, Rob Williams putting this narrative out. They want to buck the trend of after a win or going on the road, whatever. They don't want to just falter, and it's a good time to start, because you're trying to go to the finals, and this is a big stepping stone to hopefully doing so. So you don't know your opponent in the finals, as the Mavericks won last night, but
the opponent.
The opponent, but
you're gonna see the Golden
always
State
a small
Warriors
sliver of the crazy upset, but it's gonna be fun. I'm like I said, I'm confident in the Celtics tonight. I'm leaning more towards a win than not, so hopefully they will deliver. I'll knock on wood again, and I'll take another sip of this chili Captain Morgan and ginger ale.
Okay, that sounds very good.
I just wanted the people to not think I'm a weirdo who's drinking a beer out of a mug with ice.
Giant. Yeah, exactly.
But people might not know about the combo, but it's a nice combo.
It's a solid combo.
Just a nice chili one, the Celtics up tonight. So exciting. This is the biggest, falls into the cliche, biggest game of the season. So
well, the
time
thing
to deliver, time to nut up or shut up. So
exactly. Well, the thing too with the Celtics is, Golden State's probably going to finish their series before the Celtics finish theirs. Let's be honest. My thing for Ime Udoka would be, get this series done, win tonight, win game 6 at home. You'll get a couple extra days off, and then you get to rest Rob for a couple more days. You get to rest Marcus Smart, Al Horford. We don't know if he's lingering with any injuries, but he is 35, like you mentioned. That can only help a couple extra days off for the 35-year-old vet. Like that's been, going as hard as he has from game 1. Jason Tatum, I joked about it. But maybe that shoulder is bothering him. He was obviously rubbing it the other game. So maybe there is an injury there that I didn't think there was. So obviously that'll help him. And then Jaylen Brown's obviously, you haven't kind of had him come up on the injury report, but you got to think that hamstring is still bothering him to some degree. So again, do the job you have to do tonight. Like you said, Rob Williams doesn't want to have the Celtics continue to, not throw them, but have these games where they come out and struggle after a big win. Get out, put the pressure on Miami early tonight, and maybe win the first quarter, get them down early, and see if they maybe crumble like the Celtics did, obviously, in game 2 or game 1. Excuse me.
Celtics is best team, most titles. Heat is spin and fall. In the words of Janos. I'm just kind of like combining tweets here, but Janos is on a heater.
As he should be with how well the Celtics have played.
My God, I truly love that account so much. It always gives me a laugh. Like he doesn't miss. Any closing Celtics thoughts before we move
No,
on to
other
Red
than
Sox?
yeah, I've read a quick little Red Sox segment because they have been playing well, but there is one thing that's still bothering me about this team that I
Oh
have to
boy!
get
Oh
off my
no,
chest.
Ryan! St. Louis is down 1-0.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Oh
Damn it.
damn, man,
That's
that's really
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
Yeah, that's gonna
Oh,
ruin my night, I think.
they're on the road too. You know, could be tough to come back from. It could
Mm.
be tough to come back from.
That's another team I like to see buried early on.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Billy Huso, a little bit, but
Mhm.
he's the more likable of the two Blues goalies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, Colorado. Oh, Nathan McKinnon, it's the big boy
Mhm.
stepping up.
Very nice. Like to see it.
Boston Red Sox. Well, I mean, we are in an interesting spot with the Boston Red Sox, aren't we?
Yeah, they might not be as dead as I thought they were. If you asked me a couple weeks ago, like I'm like this team is headed for the baseball lottery. Like let's blow it up, but not trade Xander Bogaerts obviously or Rafael Devers. It's not something anything too
Probably
crazy.
just not do that like regardless.
Or just in general, yeah. No matter how many games you win, wherever you finish, let's just not trade those guys. But yeah, they have had a massive turnaround since obviously the end of or the start of April to the beginning of May. Went back and kind of looked at the stats for both months, try to run through them as quickly as I can. April, obviously, they played 22 games. They went 9-13, 225 for the average. They're hitting horribly just across the stat line. Just 12 homers, 75 RBIs. They're striking out a bunch, 175 Ks, 48 walks. They're not walking at all. 76 runs scored. The pitching wasn't terrible. Obviously, you have some blown saves here or there, so not great. The month of May comes around, the weather gets a little warmer. Trevor Story, who we'll get to in a second, looks like Trevor Story finally. And this team starting to take off. Obviously, they've won 6 in a row, 20 games in May so far. They're 11-9. They have a higher batting average, a higher OPS, a higher slugging percentage, a higher OPS. They've hit more home runs, driven in more runs. They've walked more. They have struck out less. They have scored more runs. They have obviously more innings pitched this month. They have walked less batters in the pitching department and have a better whip. Some negatives, they have 16 less strikeouts, if you care about that, 14 more earned runs in the pitching department, which will help me get to my problem with I have with this team in a second. And they've allowed 6 more home runs when it comes to pitching. But everything else for the offense, at least, has been solid. You have obviously Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, and JD Martinez still tearing the cover off the ball, but you had some other guys step up, one mainly being Trevor Story, who has maybe, I don't know if he heard the comps that everyone was talking about, that this is the next Carl Crawford and Edgar Renteria, which is a bad look. Like that, he was never going to be that bad.
Poor
like
Edgar Renteria too, because like he was on the receiving end of the ending of
he was the final out, and he was grounded back to Folk.
It's a tough
Folk has it on to first
for Edgar Renteria.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, when I heard those comps, I'm like, that's not this guy. He's going to figure it out. Give him some time. Obviously, we talked about, didn't have a spring training really at all. Got off to a slow start, but yeah, he's turned it around. I mean, the month of April, no homers, 5 RBIs, just 5 walks, 21 Ks. He's batting 224. Month of May, it's up to 237 he's hitting. So, it's not, again, crazy numbers, but it is an improvement.
Gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. Yep. You got to start somewhere. His OPS is almost up 400 points. 8 home runs now, 28 RBIs, 11 walks. Those are up. Strikeouts to 28. He's got 16 runs. He's stealing bases. I think he leads the team in RBIs right now. He's second in home runs. He's had big hit after big hit. Obviously, the 3-homer game a couple nights ago, hit the grand slam as well. Just good to see him overall get back to it, because like I said, he was catching a lot of flack that I didn't think he had rightfully deserved. Like I said, you can be mad at the guy for getting off to a slow start, but to call him the next Carl Crawford, who was a complete disaster here and like didn't want to be here, it seemed like from day one, like that's a bit egregious.
There are some irrational takes, and I understand where people were coming from, but that kind of seems like something you think, maybe if this leads into late June, July,
exactly,
August, whatever.
Let's reassess at the All-Star break. If he's still hitting under 220, then he can maybe make a case. But
I mean, like per Tyler Milliken of the Sports Hub, since May 10th, 13 games, 50 at bats. He's hitting 300 with 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, 4 for 4 on stolen bases, and a 222 WRC plus. Pretty good.
All solid.
I haven't watched the Sox a ton this year. What Tyler says, sounds like he's been playing good defense in second as well.
He's
So that
been
always
phenomenal.
helps.
Yeah, he's figured it out at second base. It was a little shaky at the start, obviously learning a new position that he had never played before, but now it seems like he has fit right in right there. I mean, him and Bogarts turning double plays more smoothly. You're not seeing as many errors as you saw early on. It seems like he's just more sure over there, kind of knows what he's doing. So like I said, great to see him get off to a good start. Now, as I was listening to Felger Maz today, you're going to get the storylines of, if Trevor Story can, continue to hit the ball and play pretty well, does it make more sense that, he's here and it might be easier to get rid of Xander Bogart, to let him walk if you can't figure things out? No, let's not talk about that now. Let's just enjoy that. Exactly. I'd prefer to have both. There is obviously
one of them, or, I don't like the idea of trading either of them, but you do have all these middle infield prospects. Like,
how about you just let JD Martinez walk? I know he's having a great year, but
just like,
push comes to
if
shove.
We're talking about trading these guys, let's see what their record is around the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's see what happens if any news on contract talks with Bogarts come out, which I assume they will.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marcelo Mayer isn't stepping through that door. You don't know if Jeter Downs is going to be good right out of the gate when he gets called up.
Yep.
Same with New York. Whenever that happens, Marcelo Mayer is probably like minimum 2 years out, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm. That would be, yeah. I'd probably put that timeline.
Recently, I heard.
Yep.
Which isn't great, but all accounts, I think he's doing all right where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, he gets better though. Look, like, this team isn't bad enough now. I hope people are kind of, with the turnaround of the team, are kind of letting the trade talks kind of subside a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
or sending Bogarts to St. Louis or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Just wait a little bit. Let the Red Sox get hot. Maybe somebody will tweet something Jaylen Brown-esque out and really set things into motion, and they'll be the best team.
I don't know who they have on the roster that would be that guy though. Like, I don't know who
tweets a lot. Like, Trevor Story's on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to think from a personality standpoint. Like, Verdugo's got the personality for it, but I don't know if he's.
Verdugo would be the guy.
Yeah.
I think Verdugo would be the guy.
I feel like we're missing an obvious one though. Like,
there isn't an obvious one.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Oh, we are. It would be Kike Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly who, with his personality and his kind of locker room, like, rah-rah, like, he would 100% be that type of guy.
Here, he would tweet something like
I was good. Yeah, that was the first guy I was thinking of, was Brock Holtz, but obviously he's not a part of this team anymore, which stinks.
Does stink.
But yeah, just some turnarounds, some things, obviously that have helped turn the Red Sox around. Nick Pivetta has finally started pitching like that number 2 starter we kind of figured or hoped he would be to start the season. I mean, that month of April was, that's helping yours exactly. But yeah, April was not a good month for him. 0-3 with an 8.27 ERA, 13 walks, 16 Ks. Opponents were hitting 297 off him. Month of May comes around, 5 games so far in the month, 3-1 with a 2.23 ERA. Had the complete game the other night. Opponents are hitting 179 off him, 30 Ks, and just 3 walks. I think one of them was intentional. So, maybe you count that as a real walk or you don't. But Pivetta's been great. Like I said, he has slotted into that number 2 spot when there has been some uncertainty with the rotation, maybe a little bit. Maybe some guys getting jumbled around here and there. Again, we're getting to the one problem that I have had with this team, and I think a lot of people are starting to come around to. Just nice to see Pivetta kind of be the insurance for Eovaldi, because Eovaldi has had some up and down starts of late. Just nice to have Pivetta back there, to obviously have Eovaldi's back, and then kind of set the rest of the rotation up moving forward, because he's a guy you needed going forward. Obviously, we talked about him. You had the bold predictions for him at the start of the season. Like, he was a guy you were going to have to probably rely on, with some question marks, obviously, surrounding Sale and Paxton with their injuries. What were you going to get from Michael Wacha and Rich Hill? I don't think either one of us predicted either one of those guys to be as good as they've been. Pivetta was kind of the one certainty you thought you had, and to see him get off to such a rough start and people questioning him was like, this again, it's a guy that's going to come around. He's got some things he's trying to figure out, and he has done that in May, and he's been superb.
Yeah, it was kind of like a thing we talked about earlier in the season with the Chris Hale stuff, which has kind of been like not a huge storyline because he's not playing, but you never know when you're going to get him back. You need guys to step up. Tanner Houck, we didn't know what his role is going to be exactly. That's going to continue to evolve as the season goes on, I think. Garrett Whitlock, if we see him bounce back and forth, whether Eovaldi's going to, how consistent he's going to be able to be. Whenever you get James Paxton back, there's a lot going on in the rotation. So to get the stability after a tough start for Pivetta is nice. I'm not just saying that for my season predictions for him, but just in general, it's a good guy to have going too, because he's so fiery, as we've learned in the
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
recent memory. So it's good. It's a start. Just because they have a 6-game winning streak doesn't mean everything's fixed for the Red Sox.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, they're still in fourth in the division, but
Got some ground to
start.
make up. Yep.
It's one of those things. Back to what we said earlier with Story. Got to start somewhere. So if you want to
Absolutely.
turn this around, you want to separate yourself from the Orioles.
Yeah.
Got to start
Yep.
somewhere. Got to start somewhere, and that's what they're
Yep.
doing. So.
And then kind of the last standout thing is it helps me transition, like I said, into the thing I really wanted to talk about with the Red Sox is you've had two lefties step up. It pains me that Jake Diekman hasn't been one of them because I was high on Jake Diekman. Obviously, we talked about him when the signing happened. That I thought this was a guy that was really going to help out. And then the other two lefties in the bullpen might have been some question marks, with one bouncing back from an injury and one having an up and down season last year when he came to the Red Sox. Matt Strahm and Austin Davis have both been phenomenal. 17 games for Matt Strahm, 2-1 with a 1.88 ERA, 143 opponent's average against him, 15 Ks and 3 walks. Austin Davis, 18 games for him, 1-1 with a 1.96 ERA. He has struck out 22, walked 7, and opponents are hitting 212 off of him. So same thing, just like good insurance in a spot on the team. It's probably the biggest weakness. Obviously, the bullpen has been really, really bad at times. But to have both those guys kind of shoring things up is obviously good to see. Like I said, Davis was up and down. He's a guy I didn't even really want to make the roster coming out of camp because of his moments last year where things got bad. And Strahm, like I said, was an interesting one. I liked the signing, but didn't really know what he was going to give you because he was hurt all of last year. Nice to see both those guys stepping into some pretty prominent roles with the bullpen.
Yeah, and it's good to see any new guy you pick up settling in, and Strahm, it's been pretty solid overall. Davis, we always joked last year, how much can a guy that the Pirates didn't want
exactly, yeah, help out.
He's settling in, it's nice to have some of the lefties step up when you want that good lefty righty variety, especially in your bullpen. Getting guys who could be counted on, whether they're righty or lefty, of course. So yeah, man, it just goes into another thing that we always, the past few years and still this year, we still have some uncertainty with, and to get some stability going, hopefully it's something that can bleed into the rest of the season and continue.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to, jump ahead a little on is the Bobby Dahlbeck situation, because
it's
another thing we talked about before the season. Is Bobby Dahlbeck eventually going to be moved? His value just has to be close to zero right now, which is not good.
Yep. I mean, he's arguably, like I said, I have in the outline here, I put him in because getting into it was the one massive problem I have with the Red Sox that we'll get to in a second. And there was one little minor problem because right now, Bobby Dahlbeck's struggles is being kind of blanketed by Franchy Cordero. And I don't want to crap on Franchy Cordero too much because he's had a very nice bounce back season so far. Just 19 games he's played in, 255 he's hitting. That's obviously way better than he hit last year in a short sample size. Had the big grand slam to walk things off the other night against Seattle. 9 RBIs for him, 13 Ks, 7 walks. He's looked more comfortable at the plate. He's looked, obviously more, aggressive or assertive at times, with the strike zone, we're not chasing pitches, but also like hunting, obviously the hittable strikes. He's got the same amount of home runs as Bobby Dahlbeck. He's got more RBIs. He's almost walked as many times as Dahlbeck has. And Dahlbeck has played 20 more games than Cordero has. He's hitting 159, still just stuck on that one home run. I think he hit it was Sunday Night Baseball, the first game against the Yankees, I'm pretty sure, or first series against the Yankees. So game 3 of the season, I'm pretty sure. So Dahlbeck hasn't homered since the beginning, I think that series was of April, might've been the midway point with everything being pushed back this year. 33 Ks as well for Dahlbeck. Like I said, 10 walks, and he is again, we don't talk a lot about WAR, but I'll talk about it here because it's an eye opener. He's a negative 0.6 WAR. So Bobby Dahlbeck, I think the Bobby Dahlbeck at first base experience is something you might have to move on from, or should, but you're kind of at a crossroads right now when it comes to the first base position, because it is looking more and more like this is a stopgap thing with Bobby Dahlbeck.
Yeah.
Because you have obviously Tristan Casas.
But
exactly, but you have Tristan Casas coming up.
Yeah, he got cautious. I mean,
but that's again, it's something that I'm going to get into with the Whitlock problem that I'm having. Is obviously we've heard the Red Sox talk about. Obviously you want to, you're looking to the future with these prospect guys and these young guys. Prioritizing that. how about we prioritize winning now? And with Bobby Dahlbeck at first base, I mean, obviously you're winning games. Don't get me wrong. You have other guys that are stepping up, but like the fact that you still kind of have a gaping black hole at first base because Bobby Dahlbeck is giving you nothing from a production standpoint. And like I said, Franchi Cordero has been a nice player, but can you really trust him to be this consistent moving forward? Again, he's only had a short sample size of a major league career, so there's still kind of some uncertainty with him. And then again, he's not a traditional first baseman. He's still learning that position on the fly. So there's going to be some hiccups there. You saw that with obviously Schwarber last year, trying to transition from the outfield to first base. You got to think Franchi Cordero is going to be going through that at times. So like, again, it's just like you kind of needed something more at that position. And again, like obviously Franchi's helping out, but it just doesn't feel like it's something that's all that sustainable to me. Like if you have, again, that you had the beginning of April where you have guys start going into a slump, and, you know, Dahlbeck obviously is a part of that, you're going to have a problem like you had to begin the season.
Yeah. It's a double stopgap situation to me, not just Dahlbeck, and take the lesser of two evils. You know, excuse me, you want to get Dahlbeck going, but is it worth trying to get him going? That's a game by game scenario while you're trying to extend this winning streak and get things going in the right direction, because one winning streak isn't enough.
Exactly.
The position they're in. And yeah, like it's inevitable that Tristan Cautious is, I'd say it's very close to a guarantee that he's going to play on this team this year.
Oh, absolutely. I think, If you don't see him by the All-Star break, I'll be very surprised at this rate.
I mean, you got to just do what's best. And, you know, Bobby Dahlbeck can explode at any point and turn things around, at least start hitting more home runs, if not, you know, improving his average a little bit and playing a little better defensively. You got to go with the lesser of two evils. And, you know, the Cordero thing too is it makes the return on the Benintendi trade a little bit better if he continues to play well while, you know, you're trying to, you know, Benintendi isn't laying the world on fire to my knowledge in KC, but
yeah, he's having a solid year.
Yeah, but you know, you still want to get some good return on that trade, and maybe we'll start that with Winchowski
I was
soon.
Gonna say you'll see him on Saturday. I think Cora announced that he's gonna start game 2 of the doubleheader, so you get to see a little bit of him, which will be nice because it's a guy that has pitched pretty well in Pawtucket this year, or excuse me, Worcester this year. But
works for me.
Absolutely.
Works for me.
Like you said, you got to start seeing a little bit of return on that Benintendi deal. If he's going to hit 300 out in Kansas City and, you know, have a solid season here and there, like you're going to have to get something back. And I think obviously that the pitching prospects they got back was more of the draw than Franchi was. But again, it's nice to see Franchi giving you something, because if he came back up and kind of gave you the same thing last year and then Dahlbeck still hadn't figured things out, then you were going to have a legitimate problem at first base. So like you're kind of scraping by the, you know, bottom of the barrel right now. But you mentioned the home run thing with Dahlbeck. Like obviously you saw that last year where he struggled, but then he kind of caught fire and was starting to hit home runs. Batting average still wasn't great, but he was hitting the ball and driving in runs. You're not seeing that at all this year. Like his average sucks and he's hitting nothing for power right now. So like I said, you're practically getting nothing from wherever he's hitting in the lineup. Your 7 spot, your 8 spot, or your 9 spot. Like
it's tough, man. But you know, we were speaking of Cautious earlier. At Derek Willand on Twitter, he works for Nesson. Put out the Red Sox top 10 prospects according to MLB.com. They got Mayer at 1, Tristan Cautious at 2, Nick York at 3, Brian Bello, who's having a good year. In at the 4 spot, Jeter Downs. At the 5 spot, Blaze Jordan. 6, Brian Mata, who I'm still excited about. 7, Brandon Walter at 8. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm not super familiar with him either. He's a left-handed pitcher. Wikelman Gonzalez, right-handed pitcher, and Chris Murphy, left-handed pitcher. Interesting to see. You know, Derek also notes in the tweet, Marcelo Mayer, the number 10 prospect in baseball, according to MLB.com's top 100. Tristan Cautious at 14, York at 52, and Bello at 84. So,
future's
bright. Interesting note. I figured I'd bring that up real quick. You know, towards the end of Red Sox talk here. Wikelman is also a cool name.
And of
course, Blaze, but and Marcelo. You know, you got some good names in the prospect.
But a strong name, but
I wonder, you know, with a certain name on this list outside of Cautious, you know, Brian Bello continues to buzz if we see him at any point this year.
Yeah, I mean, he is very quickly moving his way up the minors. I think he's in Portland now, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been solid since joining, you know, the AA affiliate, so that's good to see. Again,
I think he threw like a complete game recently, or like
that's what I think he's like.
No, I don't think it was.
No, I think it was a complete game. I think you're right. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that obviously has a lot of buzz around him because the Red Sox really haven't had a ton of, top tier pitching prospects come through the system in quite some time. Like
The
the
sad
last,
thing there is not seeing Jay Groom.
yeah, I mean, he's fallen down the rankings obviously because he's had a couple of down seasons the last few years. I think he was hurt either 2 years ago or whatnot. But from what I've seen on Twitter, I've kind of been trying to follow up more Red Sox prospect stuff this year than the years prior. He's actually having, I think, a really solid season in Portland. I think that's where he is right now. So not in the top 10. He's kind of worked his way out of that. But with the season he's had, I think he pitched pretty well when they had him pitch a couple times in spring training as well. So there is still some talent there. Just again, it's, can he stay healthy is the big thing with him. And, maybe you'll see him at some point in the season if, they continue to need relief help. Maybe he's a guy they look to, and maybe he comes up here and gives them something on the major league roster as well.
He's been a guy, I think, what did he draft 2017, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he was a high first round pick for them, I think, in that year. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see if things continue for the Red Sox or not. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, the pitching thing, and again, the helping in the bullpen is kind of what's going to lead me to my last point here, because the one thing, like I've mentioned, that the one thing that is still aggravating me with this team is I think we kind of need to end the Garrett Whitlock. We don't kind of need to. We definitely need to. The ending of the Garrett Whitlock and the rotation experiment needs to be done and over with. We talked about this before the season started. We both thought that if he could beat out Matt Barnes in spring training as the closer, then he's the guy you go with because he was their best reliever last year. But then obviously things kind of got turned on their head when there was the talk of the Red Sox obviously want to stretch him out a little bit, use him as a starter because he came up in the Yankees minor league system as a starter. That was what he was projected as. And again, that feeds into the can you be in win now mode and also not look like, obviously, again, the Red Sox, want to look towards the future with him, want to have him here long term. That's why they extended him. But right now, you need him in the bullpen to help you win because the Red Sox, they obviously lead the league in blown saves. They've blown 11 out of 19 opportunities. Just looking at the bullpen, Hansel Robles has 3 blown saves. Jake Diekman has 3. Matt Barnes has 1. Matt Barnes has become a guy that you can't put in any situation, which is very frustrating.
It's been a tough problem for him.
Yeah,
fucking year and a half or whatever, maybe a little less than that.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's one of those guys that, kind of got his money and then just called it a career, but he got extended last year right before the All-Star break. After the All-Star break came and went, he kind of just fell off the map a little bit. So maybe it's a mechanical thing with him. They're trying to figure some things out, but his fall from grace has been kind of alarming. Like I said, you can't put him in a close game right now. You can't put him in a blowout because he's just not going to be too consistent enough. Ryan Brazier, who thankfully is no longer with the team. He got optioned to Worcester a couple games back. He had 2 blown saves and 2 opportunities. Garrett Whitlock obviously has 1 blown save this season, 1 for 2, and Austin Davis has a blown save as well. We didn't get to talk about it because obviously there was Bruins stuff, Celtics stuff, but obviously that stretch for the Red Sox were blowing saves left and right, and not being able to win games late, giving games up. Like, I think it's safe to say you could very well have 3 or 4 more wins if Garrett Whitlock was the guy at the end of the game closing things out. Because, him as a starter, he hasn't been horrible. 6 games, he's only won with a 4.70 ERA, but the games he started in, 3 times he's gone 3 innings. 2 times he's gone 5 innings, and he's gone 4 innings in 1 start. So he's not really giving you any sort of length in his starts, and maybe that's what they're gearing towards. Like, they want him to obviously build up innings. But to me, like, if he's going to give you 3 innings as a starter, like, wouldn't you want those 3 innings towards the end of the game more so than at the beginning? Like, I feel like you can, they're doing it with Houck. He tends to piggyback off of Rich Hill starts or Michael Walker starts. Just make the switch, put Tanner Houck back in the rotation, and flip him with Garrett Whitlock, put him back in the bullpen, and you'll have, if you want to, Tanner Houck for 5 or 6 innings and Garrett Whitlock for the final 3. Like, that's what I would do. Again, like, you're kind of handcuffing yourself having Whitlock in the rotation right now. He's your best bullpen piece, and you've needed him. They've had guys step up, like I mentioned. Strom's been good. John Schreiber has come out of nowhere and has been a very good addition. Even Tyler Danish has given you good innings at times. But again, like, those aren't guys, I feel like Schreiber and Danish specifically, you can't rely on, I feel like, because there just isn't any track record to have this type of performance all season long. So the fact that they're sticking with Whitlock in the rotation this long when there's, glaring, obviously, problems in the bullpen, particularly your back end as well, like, it's a decision I feel like that should be pretty easy to make. Like, you need to flip the switch and make the change sooner rather than not.
Yeah, and I mean, they've had, pitching issues in the past and
Mhm.
have been able to make changes, good or bad. But like, these changes need to be ideally your best changes since you're in fourth place in the division. You know,
Yep.
you can't you don't have a first place cushion. You don't
Mhm.
even have a second place cushion. We're even in third place.
You don't have time to experiment with stuff. You're
Yeah,
kind of
you
behind the
gotta
8 ball.
go with your best foot forward here and gain some ground
Mhm.
because it's like every sport. It's like, oh, like early season games don't matter as much, and then you look back and you're like, damn, wish they could have had that game.
Could have
Wish they
won a
could have
game
had
here or
that
there and helped
series.
you. Yeah. Yep.
Wish they had this guy in that position in terms of baseball in this situation. Like, well, wish we switched, put Woodlock back in the closer role or at least the long reliever role
Yep.
earlier in the year. These are questions you don't want to ask late in the season.
No, absolutely
You're
not.
in kind of unfamiliar territory. The Red Sox
Mhm.
have had bad seasons in recent years, but like overall, there's still a standard of success, and they want to
Yep.
get that going again, of course. So
Mhm.
we shall see. You'll see if we have more positive or negative stuff to talk about next week with the Red Sox. But
Mhm.
unless you have any final thoughts, we'll move on to a few Bruins things.
I do not. I mean, the only other thing I was going to really quickly say with Whitlock, I mean, even if they don't want to make him the closer, if they still want to go with this long inning type of stuff, do that. Have him pitch the 7th and 8th. And if you want to maybe experiment, again, it's kind of risky to experiment, but like Schreiber has been, like I said, been good. Maybe you throw him into more save opportunities. Like you just have to get Whitlock back in the game late to try to knock the, and then again, maybe if you have him get some stops, the offense scores more runs. Maybe you don't have to go into so many save opportunities. So there's obviously different things you can play with there, but like that's the gist of it, is put Whitlock back where he's been more successful. Obviously he's had more experience with the Red Sox as a reliever. So maybe there's more, comfortness there. Just do that. Help yourself out. You're not going to, I think I might have. I tend to do that from here to there.
It kind of sounds like it could be a word, but I don't know.
Comfortness.
Comfortability.
Comfortability. Is that the actual word?
Comfortability.
I don't want to butcher another word like I tend to do, so I just decided to make one up instead.
Make it a synonym.
Yep, there you go.
I don't even know if you could make a word with the same root like that, a synonym, but I don't know. I'm not a dictionary guy.
Nope. Never was one either. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the Red Sox.
Colorado.
They up 2-0.
Up 2-0. McKinnon again.
Very nice. Just score a hat trick and send St. Louis home. That'd be nice.
Oh boy. Tough for St. Louis as we segue into hockey here. Nathan McKinnon again, the Nate Dog, trying to send the Avalanche to the conference finals for the first time since 2002.
Long time ago.
Yeah, they got some motivation there. Some tough losses in recent years. But on to the Bruins. To start, I mean, Brad Marchand weighing in on Twitter, at Ian C. McLaren on Twitter on May 17th. Medium hot take: if Patrice Bergeron retires, the Bruins should absolutely explore the trade market for Brad Marchand. And he responds 4 days later and says, "Tough take." So
I got 2,000
Marchand
likes. Couldn't be too tough.
that. He doesn't want to leave Bergeron.
He might not have a choice of that though. That's the problem.
Makes sense. No, he just doesn't want to leave his buddy's side. He doesn't want to get traded. Maybe he wants Bergeron back too, as I know for a fact he does actually. I can say that safely. Look, I'm gonna touch on this quickly because I'm not one of these people that is campaigning to trade Brad Marchand, because I know there are people out there. Outside of the idea of the return, the massive return you could get for Brad Marchand, even though he is getting older, he has had injury troubles. It's really hard to justify the idea from a leadership standpoint. He's clutch. He's played a ton in the playoffs. He's just a superstar. He had sports hernia surgery last year and is pondering off-season hip surgery this year. That's going to decrease the value, I imagine, a little bit, make some teams hesitate. Look, Brad Marchand is a Bruin for life.
I think that's very obvious.
And I seriously doubt at this point in his career he wants to go anywhere else. I'd be really devastated to see him go anywhere else, whether it's in free agency in the future or via trade. I'm going to check real quick, though, because I'm pretty sure he does have a no trade clause anyway.
It makes sense for him. Oh, I keep doing that. It makes sense for him, too. He does have a no move clause.
Yeah, I saw somebody suggest trading him to Colorado. Like, what?
Just load that team up.
We don't
give him the Ray Bork treatment.
We don't need to do this. Like, we don't need to do this. maybe talk a little bit about the outlandish trade stuff if Bergeron retires.
Exactly.
Then you might have to make some moves that hurt. I'm not saying trade Marshall. I'm not saying trade Pasternak, like some people are saying. Like,
but I mean, I feel like you'd have to though. Like,
no.
To really quickly, because we talked about this when people were talking about that. Do you trade Marchand? Do you trade?
Shit.
What happened? Just drink spill?
Dude, this stink bug just fell from the heavens.
Oh, those are terrifying, aren't they? Just hear those and
getting this thing out of here.
All right.
He's got dust on his feet.
It's a quick little surprise attack. Oh, Miami and Boston are off to
a
horrible starts.
You freaking live here. You live outside. You're a bug.
Oh my God! Nobody can hit a shot in this game so far. Jimmy Butler just missed a layup from maybe like a foot away. That was horrible. Did you kill that bug yet? Hello?
All right, dude.
Did you get it? Did you kill it?
The little guy had dust on his feet. He was probably running he just fell onto my desk.
The ugliest game of basketball I've ever.
Podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
This is an extermination podcast. Back to Brad
ugly
Marchand.
Game of basketball so far. No, the one thing I was going to say is we talked about this before, and we were kind of at a crossroads where it's like, okay, well, if Bergeron retires, do you not go into tank mode, but like do you accelerate a rebuild? And I was like, you really can't because you have too much talent. You have obviously Marchand, you have Pasternak. If you trade Brad Marchand, then I think that signifies like you have to get everybody else out of here. Then like you have to move Pasternak, you have to move Hall. Like
Pasternak's interest in
that too.
Here,
yep,
potentially
that too,
which isn't good. It sucks because the idea practically of moving on from a huge asset, if you're rebuilding, makes sense. Does it make sense with Brad Marchand's case for the reasons we've mentioned? No, not to me.
Not in the slightest.
Nope. I like Brad Marchand a lot. I'd rather have him here forever, for the rest of his career, however long it lasts. So that was just funny. To see that response, especially 4 days later. He must have just seen it pop up, or maybe like a friend sent it to him. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna chip in here. Yeah. He could have went after Ian a little harder here too, and he said tough take. It's kind of
in typical Marchand fashion, absolutely.
Oh yeah, he's the king of Twitter in the NHL. The thing too for both sides of the coin here, his extremely reasonable contract would help his trade value. But at the same time, it gives the Bruins more reason to keep him because it is a bargain. So there is that.
And he is your most talented player. Like,
yeah, he's
that alone.
He's unreal. Like
it's very good.
Oh my God, I like the thought of that goal against Carolina in Game 6. Like, that goal was ridiculous. It was so similar to 2011. It was beautiful. In Game 6, of course, against Vancouver. Let's play a game of Would You Rather now.
Okay.
A popular set of names, maybe more so one than the other, with the Winnipeg Jets. Would you rather Mark Scheifele or Pierre-Luc Dubois? You got Mark Scheifele, former high first-round pick, was big on him in his draft year. Now 29, makes $6.125 million a year with a modified no-trade clause for the 2023-2024 season. 67 games played last year, 29 goals, 41 assists, 70 points, 23 penalty minutes. Then you got Pierre-Luc Dubois, turning 24 on June 24th, same birthday as my older brother. He's currently 23, of course, in that event. Makes $5 million average annual value, pending RFA. 81 games played, first full season as a Jet. 28 goals, 32 assists, 60 points, 106 penalty minutes. To me, there's a somewhat easy answer, but there's reasonable reasons to support either side. To me, it's Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I'm going to get this out of the way first. Look, the RFA status might make it a little tougher. Maybe it's just a sign and trade. Maybe, maybe he ends up wanting to stay in Winnipeg and signs a deal and wants trade protection. He's like, I do want to stay here. But maybe, a guy that wanted out of Columbus is like, hey, like, I have a chance to be traded. Maybe I'm not totally against that. And go to a better team than Winnipeg because I don't know, Winnipeg might need to rebuild. It's Pierre-Luc Dubois for me. I love how he plays in the playoffs. I love his physical style. He was a third overall pick in 2016. I think he's going to continue to get better. I think over an 82-game season, he can be a point per game player. I love Pierre-Luc Dubois. He gave the Bruins fits in the playoffs in the past. Obviously didn't have a ton of trouble with Columbus in terms of beating them, but Columbus was a bastard of a team to play against, and he was a big part of that. And I've always liked Pierre-Luc Dubois. He can play center, he can play the wing. It obviously, for both teams with the trade, it'll depend on what his next deal looks like.
Mm-hmm.
The more likely guy to move is Scheifele, but if I am to pick, it is Pierre-Luc Dubois. The thing with Scheifele too, the dude is a black hole in the defensive zone. That's not ideal for a center, and especially a top six center. Sure, that can change in a different system with Boston, but Dubois is younger. I like the player more. I like the player. I think he's got some upside. I think to be close to, if not a point per game player. So does Scheifele. He was just over a point per game, but I like the player in Dubois a little more. And that's pretty much my whole case, if not most of it. But where do you stand? Are you on the Scheifele side of things, or are you on the Dubois side of things?
I wanted to be on the Scheifele side of things, just because, I mean, obviously not knowing as much about either player as you do, like I recognize the name of and just know a little bit more about Scheifele than I do about Dubois. But and then like the Scheifele thing of like obviously the control through 23, 24 is obviously a good thing. But I think you might have sold me on Dubois. Like the younger stature is fine. Like you mentioned that Scheifele, I mean, the Bruins have had trouble with defense in the past. Like you don't want a guy that is, like you said, a black hole. So I would probably lean more towards the younger guy that you might obviously be able to maybe get him to resign here if you get him, and then have him here longer through probably the prime of his career. I mean, the numbers aren't too far off either. That's what makes it even more difficult. Like it's two very similar type of players. It looks like, at least from just like a point standpoint. Like you said, they do play a little different style of hockey, but that's what makes it more interesting too.
I think Dubois is a guy that could really end up being like a monster in the playoffs. If he gets a big time run, the right team, Scheifele too on the other side. If he's playing with a guy like Brad Marchand, maybe his defensive
that's true.
inadequacies are a little bit more masked, or maybe just a different coaching system really helps him. Maybe just being out of Winnipeg, because it doesn't seem like you love being there.
Scenery change, yeah.
Maybe it works out. If they trade for Mark Scheifele in the right price, I'm not going to be mad about it until I have a reason to be.
Exactly, yeah.
The black hole defensively is very concerning. But it's somewhat fixable. Maybe you don't turn him into a stud like Selke contender, but maybe you improve it quite a bit. We don't know. We also don't even know who's even going to be coach next year. So
that's true too. It's going to be a problem.
That's a thing to monitor as well. Scheifele has trade protection. Will he want to go to Boston? I don't see why not, but he's got that choice. So it's an interesting would you rather, but it's kind of like a weird situation with Dubois where there's some speculation that he could end up being moved, but I think if there's the more likely guy to be moved, it is Scheifele. So something to monitor. On the topic of centers and actually talking about the Colorado Avalanche too tonight, Nazem Kadri.
I don't know how I feel about this one.
Look, I'm all over the idea of Nazem Kadri being a Bruin.
Yeah, I kind of want. I don't like the player, but I kind of want to lean towards yes. I mean, him and Marchand on the same team would just be such a pain in the ass headache for other teams. And like, it's not like he's a guy that's a stiff. Like he puts up points. Like
yeah, there's been rumors, about him being linked to the Ottawa Senators. I think I've asked around. I think there is some credence to those rumors from what I've been told.
Okay.
I've talked about stuff like this before. I'm not an insider, but I think it's possible that, if Ottawa comes forward with a lot of money, he will sign there.
Okay.
And, Ottawa came out today saying with even potentially moving the 7th overall pick, they are looking to add like a stud defender or a stud forward. Maybe that comes with free agency in this regard. Maybe it comes with both. Maybe it's little Kevin Fiala.
Just do everything, yeah. Yep.
Maybe they want to get into the playoffs and challenge the Bruins and the
actually play for something,
Sabres
for a change.
Anyone else in the LA division and the Eastern Conference as a whole.
The
thing with me for Kadri is it has to be 4 years max. I'm not cool on signing players through like 37, 38 if it's avoidable.
Shouldn't be with the Bruins.
That's the reason why I'm not getting. Yeah, I mean they did it with Taylor Hall. They got him for 4 years. Maybe they can do it with Kadri, but I'm kind of in the boat where Kadri is going to want 6 years minimum. But I've talked about the Hall situation too. Like, let's normalize giving players in situations like this. It's not all players that are just 31. It's not like a specific age thing, but giving them 3 to 5 years instead of 6, 7. because a lot of these 6-7 year deals don't take long to turn into disasters, or towards the very end just turn into disasters, which is somewhat predictable and avoidable.
I feel like in that sport too, like that's a more risky than maybe some of the other ones.
It's safe to say he's going to get a sizable raise from that $4.5 million penny UFA. 87 points, 28 goals, 59 assists on that stacked Colorado team, 71 penalty minutes. So he's not shy from roughhousing. He's got 10 points, maybe more with the goals tonight. He might have more. But earlier from the stat line I put in there, 8 games played coming into tonight's game, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points, 4 penalty minutes. Of course, having himself an eventful series with all the fiasco and the hat trick in game 4. Worth noting with this player and his inflated market value to some extent, he is on a stacked team, and he did move up to the lineup up in the lineup to the top line for a good portion of the season while Nathan McKinnon was hurt. So that inflates his point production a bit, but there's no doubt that Nazem Kadri is a different player in Colorado, and the trade looks terrible for Toronto because the Kadri and Barrie trade. Tyson Barrie is no longer on the Maple Leafs, so
that trade worked out.
Yeah, not good for the Maple Leafs, but the Maple Leafs are the Maple Leafs. But let me tell you, dude, Nazem Kadri for like 4 years max. If he can keep this up, at least be like a 70-point guy, because I think, with the surrounding cast and some power play time, he can easily put up 70 points unless this ends up being a fluke, which I don't really see. I'm willing to put the past aside,
let bygones be bygones.
Like guy bonds be guy bonds, as the firm might say. You don't, if you trade Jake DeBrusk, you don't have to worry about, animosity between them or awkwardness.
That's true. Yep.
Look,
guy that shows up in the playoffs too. Like that's a big thing for me.
Shows up in the playoffs if he's not suspended.
That's true. Good point. That's the kind of the one negative though. There is the background of like, well, when is this guy gonna
he's a divisive guy.
Cut loose here and maybe screw us over for a game or two?
Yeah, he's a divisive guy on the ice. And like we said earlier, it's a guy who's been through a lot lately. Like
it's true. Yep.
A lot off the ice too. He's an advocate for change and racism, and I'm sure Islamophobia goes in with that too.
Yeah.
A lot of people with his Muslim background just being terribly Islamophobic and racist to him, which is just not cool at all. He's got a tough background. He's got a tough background. A lot of Boston fans, I imagine, still hate the guy, but look, especially if you lose Bergeron, you got to kind of put things aside a little bit.
It's not a bad replacement. Absolutely.
Want to keep things turning in the right direction. Which I think the Jacobs and extension, the front office of the team wants to do 100%. So, look, am I expecting Nazem Kadri to sign here? No, not. But it's not the worst idea, and I am not as down on Nazem Kadri as I once was, especially with how he's playing, how he's mentally dominating the St. Louis Blues, and the guy just shows up. Like this year, he showed up. He was called on to play a bigger role with McKinnon out. He's been a great fit with that team. He's a damn good player, and I don't care if he's turning 32. If you can get him on the right deal, he's going to be a significant contributor in this team. But I will say, though, watch out for Ottawa, too, on him, because I think they will more likely than not throw the bag at him. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at if I'm just guessing here, $8 million minimum a year. So is that affordable? The Bruins would have to do some cap gymnastics without a doubt. But just something to monitor, because people are talking about it, and when free agency opens up or gets around there and the season's over, a lot of teams are going to want Nazem Kadri. So if you can make it work, do it, but I'm not counting on it, but it is an option. Any final notes on Kadri for you?
Yeah, the one thing, I mean, you mentioned kind of obviously the Bruins fans, maybe rightfully so, with just like the history, obviously not liking the guy. Like, I wonder if that's something in the back of his mind, that if the Bruins were to approach him about a contract, would he even want to? And then the Marchand thing too, because Marchand obviously gets under people's skin. Would he want to maybe bury the hatchet or try to bury the hatchet? Like you said, if DeBrusk is still here, like that's,
pest duo.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it's enticing. But then there's obviously, you have to think of just Kadri alone. Is Boston a spot that's, on his mind that he would want to play for? Which I don't
I
know
would
if it
not
would
blame him
be
for just
like,
wanting to cash out on a team with
yeah,
lower leverage.
absolutely. Yeah. Especially if he wins a cup this year, like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. If he
like
wins a cup this year, go to
Mhm.
Ottawa, get 8,
get the
9 million,
bag and
whatever,
then
and
fade
just,
off into oblivion.
I mean, Ottawa's not in the worst spot either. Playing with Tim Stützle.
Mhm.
Yeah, you got a good top center down the middle, and Josh Norris looking like a fantastic player. Drake Batherson, some good prospects on the way, potentially
Mhm.
more if they keep the 7th overall pick. It's
In
not
good
the
shape.
not the worst rebuilding team to land with. Maybe I could see Detroit going after him 100%. And he'll have plenty of suitors otherwise. But I'm just saying, watch out for Ottawa with Naz and Kadri. They did do a little bit of digging. Not an insider, but did do a little bit of digging. So, World Championship notes. Bruins do have some representation at the World Championships and former Bruin representation. One thing I forgot to put in the outline, Steven Kampfer is coming back to the NHL. He's signed with the Detroit Red Wings, speaking of them.
Did not know that.
Wants to get out of Russia, understandably so.
I can't blame him for that.
Good for him. I love Steven Kampfer. Really nothing to complain about with the guy. And of course, scored that legendary goal against the Hurricanes in 2019, which I fondly remember. Because Steven Kampfer scored the first round of a conference final series, which is a very funny.
Kind of have to remember that.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Stevie Snipes, the great.
Doesn't happen every so often.
Remember the video of the celebration that they edited? He like smashed the boards and it was like a sonic boom on the boards.
Yep.
That was hilarious. It's kind of like the NHL's version of like the Patrick Starr, like Larry Nance thing in a way.
Yeah, but that one made no sense. Yeah.
That was bizarre. Yeah, this Canberra one made a little more sense. But yeah, the World Championships, with the Bruins season ending, David Pastrnak went over there to Finland. Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman, Pastrnak and Krejci are buzzing together. There's a video out there of Swayman robbing Krejci once, and then Pastrnak and Krejci on another 2-on-1. Swayman and Ullmark faced off. Swayman won. Adam Gaudette won it in overtime for Team USA. Joachim Nordstrom, a guy that could try to make an NHL comeback with not wanting to play in the KHL potentially anymore. He's playing for Sweden, so good to see Nordy out there. Love Nordy. Hopefully David Pastrnak is just doing some recruiting.
Yeah,
hey,
just
David,
putting the word out there.
Hey,
Might need
David.
you here, man.
Hey, David. Hey, you want to come back? You want to just fuck around and play another year in the NHL?
Maybe get Bergeron back here as well. That'll help make that decision.
Together. Maybe do some cap gymnastics and put the bottom 6 retool in the rearview mirror and get rid of some pieces and trade Mike Riley and make some cap space.
Do something.
We'll see what happens. Look, still on Krejci, I'm not counting on it happening, but it's not impossible. Any additional thoughts on Krejci and World Championship stuff for you?
Not really. Didn't see a ton of it, so
yeah. The video of Swayman dancing in his USA pads is very funny too. As he's walking on the ice. Feel good story of the week. Todd Andrews.
This was awesome. Yeah. Yep.
I wanted to put this in moments of the week, but he goes to sing the national anthem to late Jimmy Hayes' son Bo on his mini hockey rink, and that was just really cool. Really
very cool.
Cool gesture. Of course, we know the Hayes family has gone through a lot in the past year. Really cool for Todd, and I'm sure something Bo was pretty excited about, and just a cool thing. Really cool thing to do. Speaking of the World Championships, projected top 3 pick Uri Slafkovsky, who's just having quite the rise in the draft board, having quite the year in international competition. Really makes you wonder if the Devils have him locked in as the number 2 pick, if Montreal somehow doesn't want to shock the world and pass on Shane Wright and take Slafkovsky as the number 1 overall pick. But I mean, the Canadian boy going to the Canadians makes a lot of sense. And this is a guy that I don't know if I'm there yet, but has drawn comparisons to Patrice Bergeron and Shane Wright. So
can't go wrong there.
Uri Slafkovsky, man. I mean, this kid just has to be a dream for the New Jersey Devils. We do know they are willing to trade the pick, but the right deal, of course, has to come across. Slafkovsky is a monster. He's 6'4", 218, with obviously the potential to get bigger. He's a big left winger in a growing Slovakian hockey market. They're really starting to churn out some studs. Philip Mashar in this year's draft, Dalibor Dvorsky next year. Adam Sikora, I believe, is Slovak. They're really starting to turn out some nice players. I believe Simone Nemec is a top prospect this year, Slovakian as well. Slavkovsky's having a crazy year in international competition. The U18s earlier in the year, he had 11 points in 6 games. Now in international competition in the World Championships, playing with grown men. He's done a lot of that this year, I believe. And in the World Cup, or I'm drawing a blank of what tournament this is. He had 9 points in that. So 9 points in 7 games. Now he has 7 goals and 1 assist for Slovakia right now. I mean, if you're the Devils, you have to be all over this kid at number 2 if you keep the pick. You have Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier as your top 2 centers for the near future. Alexander Holt's top prospect right winger. Then you get a big guy on the right wing, on the left wing, that can play as early as next year. Has played against men. It's not like he's just unfamiliar with playing against older competition. Slavkovsky, Hughes, and Holtz could be just an absolutely stupidly talented line for a team that is going to need that identity top line to carry them back into the playoffs at some point in the near future. It has to be him. He's dominating in international competition. That big frame, I mean, he's a monster. He scores goals. He's got a great release, knows how to use his size well. You have that potential top line along with the combination of Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, Igor Sharangovich, Yanni Kuokkanen, Dawson Mercer, Thomas Tatar. Didn't include Pavel Zacha because I think he will be traded this offseason. You're starting to build something in New Jersey. There's still some issues, goaltending, defense, but my God, I had to mention Slavkovsky because this kid just had such a crazy year. And I think you have to be all over him to do the Devils. Like a 6'4", 218, 18-year-old as a winger.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Like, could be an absolute moose for them for years. And Chris Peters brought this up. He's been following the international competition quite closely. He said, with a goal and assist so far in today's game against Denmark, 2022 draft eligible Juraj Slavkovsky has 9 points at the men's world. That ranks second all time for any U18 player at this event. Patrick Laine's 12 in 2016 is the only U18 with more points. Slavkovsky is not done. For reference, Laine only played in 10 games in that tournament. Even with no more points today, Slavkovsky would be at 1.28 points per game, which is slightly ahead of Laine's 1.20. Laine won silver and was named tournament MVP that year. So, Juraj Slavkovsky, dude. Oh, kid looks like an absolute monster. Other notes. Andrei Vasilevsky is just an alien at this point.
He's a monster. Like,
I mean, he has
good luck anyone going up against him.
He's just physically imposing, and this dude just, whether it's eliminating a team or back against the wall, this guy's just locked in. The Lightning have won 10 straight series now. They knock off the highest scoring team, what is that, I think ever in the regular season or in like the last 30 years or whatever, something crazy like
Florida,
that. Yep. President's Trophy winners, knock them off in 4 games. My prediction was somewhat correct. I changed it to Tampa, as you might have seen on the TikTok if you listened last week.
I should have listened to you.
Tampa's going to win the cup again.
They probably are. If Colorado doesn't get there, then
I think they're beating any team.
Really?
Beating any team.
Oh yeah, the Vasilevsky factor. Yep.
Look, that can change in an instant for Vasilevsky, but
yep, that's true.
Dude, this team they have it figured out. They swept them without Braden Point.
It's pretty good. They know how to win at this point of the year. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, some teams have it, some teams don't.
Forget it.
Tampa Bay knows what to do.
If the Rangers beat the Canes, I think the Lightning go back to back on sweeps. I'll put that
probably. I don't think either one of those teams has a chance.
I'm putting a lock on that. I'm putting the L word. Nothing against the Rangers, dude. I really want them to beat the Canes. The Canes will be a little tougher. I think the Canes would steal a game or two, but
they'll put up more of a fight, I think. And like you said, it's nothing against New York, but it comes down to the who's been there and who hasn't factor. Tampa Bay, again, knows what it takes to win this late in the playoffs. New York, I mean, that's what I've seen people say, New York will be a more interesting matchup because of the Garden and everything, that atmosphere. But and Shesterkin too, that goalie matchup would be good. But again, I just don't think Tampa Bay's rattled by anything of that stature. They don't care where they play. They're going to go in there and beat everybody up regardless of what the arena is.
it's crazy. And it's like, it's not one of those teams like, I'm not saying there are a lot of teams that have done this. Like, it's not like they do it with like top level homegrown talent. Like, it's not like they lose player and they have like a couple first round picks come in. This team doesn't have a lot of first round picks. They have a homegrown guy like Ross Colton having a massive playoff. They lost that whole third line. They made it worth. They get Nick Paul from Ottawa. They get Brandon Hagel for a huge price from Chicago. They should get it done. Julian Brisebois has proven to be a tremendous GM. John Cooper is the best coach in the league. Andre Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the world. Did he have the best season overall? No, Igor Shesterkin did. But overall, dude, there's
it's a guy that knows how to win
on your team in a must-win game than Andre Vasilevsky. He is maybe the best clutch goalie of all time.
Seems like it. The stats could definitely back it up. Yep.
He is stupidly, nonsensically good. He has 6 shutouts in his last 7 elimination games, 1 goal allowed, casual 49 save shutout in game 4.
Just like, it's whatever. Like, on to the next one.
200 shots against, a 995 save percentage. He allowed 3 goals in the whole second round to the highest scoring team in the league this year. Has a .14 goals against and 6 shutouts in those 7 elimination games.
It's ridiculous.
And he had to battle through. Tampa scored 2 goals that were called back.
Yeah, that game. Sorry, seeing the highlights of that game. That was a wild finish.
Dude, I'll wait a little bit to put the L word on winning the cup, but Tampa's getting back to the cup.
They're absolutely getting there. Neither one, like, Carolina's a gentleman's sweep. New York is a legitimate sweep.
Of course, Pat Maroon scores in game 4 too.
Yep. Well, that's what when I saw the highlights, I'm like, of course it's that dickhead.
Pat Maroon winning 4 cups in a row is one of the strangest things to ever happen in sports, and it will be if it happens. Because it hasn't yet. Look, he gets shit done when it matters more often than not. He's a good player, but he's not a guy that like blows you away all the time.
No, he's
like amazing four-liner. He's a leader. He is a mental warfare god. He's a physical warfare god.
It's a great role guy.
Oh my god! And I kind of joked about it in years past, like when he hit free agency, like, oh, maybe even after losing St. Louis, maybe the Bruins need a guy like Pat Maroon. And dude, guy just gets it done. He just gets it done. He knows how to be a key piece of a team. They've got a great fourth line there. Him, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and Corey Perry. I think Corey Perry's got 6 goals in the fourth line.
Ridiculous. Everybody thought Corey Perry was dead. Like,
nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him when he hit free agency, and now he's a monster. Like, unreal. Like, this team, they know how to do it. I think one of the most underrated players on that team is Ryan McDonagh too, dude. Like, Ryan McDonagh is so good. That trade is glowing all these years later with the Rangers. It isn't new. They started building this in like 2017, 2018, and it's paid off tremendously. Look, with the way Connor McDavid's playing right now, he might make things interesting if that ends up being the cup final matchup. But Tampa Bay against Mike Smith, if that ends up being the case,
that sounds terrifying.
GG. Mike Smith, that'll put him in retirement. And if it doesn't, he's a crazy maniac. My God, like we couldn't go without mentioning Tampa. Like, what they're doing is ridiculous. What they've been doing is ridiculous. I'm at the point where I'm not even mad if they win the cup. Like, it's
one of those things where it's like you can't really do anything about it. Yeah,
they're unbelievable. They're inevitable. And things always didn't end so well for Thanos, but they're inevitable.
Just year after year.
It's crazy. General thoughts though,
that was going to be mine. I mean, just how dominant he's been. Like, the 6 shutouts in the 7 elimination games is unheard of. Like, you just read off all the stats, but like that just, when I first saw that the other night, I'm like, that is unbelievable. Like, you won't see anybody for as long as he plays, maybe that streak will get larger and larger, but you will never see that again. It's one of those stats that's like, it's unbelievable.
It's so crazy. General other thoughts. I mean, Connor McDavid is just like,
it's nice to see that team finally wake up.
He's putting together the best playoff performance since Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux. Like, he's out of this world, ridiculously good. Willing that team to victory. He's like, we've always kind of the past couple of years been like, all right, when is McDavid gonna take over? When is he gonna this is what we should have. The at Oilers should
You
be.
expect them to be. Yep.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he's been through this crap for years. He scores a huge goal against the Flames last night. Kind of feels like if there's another team, I love Colorado, dude, but it kind of feels like there's another team to win the cup. It's the Oilers somehow. At least get there because things are clicking. Zach Hyman is playing amazing. Evander Kane has 12 fucking goals.
That's insane.
Leads the league by I think he has 4 more than the next highest scorer.
All these guys you can't stand are going off in the playoffs. Him, Kadri, you just said Maroon,
unbelievable. And
it's
Jordan
ridiculous.
Binnington.
And Binnington too, has a
before he got hurt for a stretch there. He was playing awesome. Evander Kane, dude, it shows, it's one of those things no matter what you do, some team will sign you, but it's working for, some people might have their doubts, and I think definitely have their doubts about Evander Kane. Do you want that in your locker room? It's working.
It's working out. Yep.
It's working. And whether it's with Edmonton or another team, because he's a free agent, he's going to get paid again. And he might lose it all again. But,
a couple years down the road, he won't have any money anymore.
You never know with him.
Yep.
Matthew Tkachuk was making bankruptcy jokes.
Yeah, it's very funny. Very well deserved.
Matthew Tkachuk might want to keep his mouth shut a little more.
True. Yeah.
They're down 3-1. Not looking good for my cup matchup. The Panthers get swept.
Oh, mine's not great either.
Flames are on the brink of death. The brink of the end of Johnny Gaudreau, perhaps this summer.
That'd be bad.
Yeah. They want to keep him. He wants to stay, but you never know. The cap exists. Colorado just scored again. Such a shame for the St. Louis Blues. Really such a shame.
Celtics are down 7.
I think the Canes are still going to win against the Rangers. I think nothing to really say more about the Lightning. I think the Oilers. The Flames are really good, but there's no chance they blow this. There's just no chance, right? With the way McDavid's playing, McDavid could literally win them a game by himself. They just need one to get to the conference finals first, not the cup finals. And it's going to be Colorado. I mean, Colorado would have to have a completely nonsensical collapse to blow this. They're up, 3-0, 3-1 now, 3-0 in a do or die situation for the Blues.
Bad spot to be in.
We are on our way to Tampa, either the Hurricanes, the Rangers, which would be a cool Russian goalie matchup if it's the Rangers, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be very good. Probably the 2 best goalies in the league, like you said.
Yeah, and we're on our way to potentially McDavid versus McKinnon, which is pretty sick.
2 very good centers as well.
Just give me it. I want Calgary to win at this point. I really do. I do like Calgary. I do like Colorado, but McKinnon versus McDavid,
that would be disgusting.
Get my blood flowing. My God, we have an exciting slate of hockey ahead, but unless you have any closing thoughts, I think that is going to wrap it up.
I am good.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. As I've been talking to Ryan about this week, we're still just getting crazy listenership. It's going up.
It's insane, the numbers. I would have never guessed.
We shouted our record. We're getting a lot of international listens, a growing Canadian audience. So to our Canadian listeners, we give some love to your teams besides the Flames, kind of, but that's okay. You can't just be positive about everybody. You gotta be real.
It's not rainbows and show ponies and everything in this world.
Yeah. We just gotta be honest. We just gotta give you the hard facts because we're so addicted to the grind, baby.
Yep.
Thank you for listening. Please continue listening. We appreciate you. As we, keep on going here and keep on growing. Yeah, I mean, you can find us pretty much wherever you find your podcast. I always forget every week to check iHeartRadio and Amazon, but that's okay. If you're listening there, welcome. Hi, please keep doing so. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio. And you can follow the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok, posting a little more there. We'll continue to do so. So follow us there. Salvaggio and Cratty, throw that into the search bar. Find us wherever you want. Pretty much give us a rating, tweet at us, whatever. Got feedback. Listen to us on the Full Press Coverage app if you're interested in listening there or listening to any of the other Full Press content. Go check that out. And thank you again. With all this terrible stuff going on in the world, please stay safe and stay healthy and just be nice to people because there's a lot of crazy shit going on, and being nice to people is free. So please do that.
It doesn't take a whole lot of effort either.
Yeah,
Like,
it really doesn't if you're, dedicated enough to it. But
mhm.
unfortunately, they're just bad people in this world. Don't be one of them. We'll see you next week for episode 97. We will talk to you then. Peace out. All right.
Hooray.